Black men at the end of the day don't want, a lot of times they don't want reformed swirlers. And they definitely are not going to be looking at you as far as the standard on being pro-Black or the standard of betting on Black. You, at that point, are not in the conversation when it comes to trying to do anything related to the Black community. You're like a non-factor at that point. And this is how men think. How men think. Women need to know. They don't care about your education. It's primarily your looks, and then your personality, and then after that, shared values, right? That's it. The education is not a component. Also, for you as a woman, if you want to date and make hypergamously, obviously, if you get more career, if you get a higher degree, your hypergamous ideals are going to be harder to achieve just simply because the numbers are not there. It's not to say that you can't do it, but you just have to know the pool is going to shrink a bit. And also, are you willing to compete to get the men that you want? I'm not saying compete like you got to put in your boxing gloves, but making sure that you are the best woman possible, making yourself marriageable. Are you willing to do that? Because college does not teach you how to be marriageable. It teaches you maybe how to think, or it teaches you how to work for a business and a corporation. But it does not give you the skills necessary to know how to get along with a man.
Someone asks, what do you bring to the table? I am the table!
So if you want to date and marry hypergamously and you're going and getting degrees, you better make sure that you are still also doing whatever you need to do to gain the skills necessary to be a wife, because you're not learning that in college. You're not. You're getting that at home. You're getting that maybe at a church or different women in your family or whatever. But you want to make sure that you are working on that simultaneously, because apart from that, even if you have a degree, you being in those upper class spaces and having access to upper elite men does not necessarily mean that they're going to see you as wife material. Because if you haven't worked on those skills, it doesn't matter. And then last, if you are a reformed swirler, Black men aren't taking you seriously. You at that point, in most instances, have no seat at the table. It's not to say that they will necessarily hate you, right? It's not to say that they will wish you harm. But as far as Black issues, Black causes, trying to set the standard, or trying to be any thought leader, you're no longer even in the conversation. They don't even consider you. Men, a lot of men think this way.
You wasn't engaged to no white man, because I thought somebody said you was engaged to a white man. I better not find out you're swimming in the milk.
This is how a lot of them think. And yeah, there is a bit of a double standard. As I mentioned earlier before, you have scores and scores of accounts of men of all races who have slept out, had side pieces, had women of different races, of different ethnicities, while they were at the same time simultaneously building their own empire. Case in point, look at American society. All the forefathers had Black women that they were sleeping with or raping. Christopher Columbus, you want to use that? He came over here and was doing things with the native women, you know what I mean? While he was simultaneously expanding the empire that he's represented. And so I think there is a double standard, because men can do that, but then will still build, and they're expected to build. Women, in my opinion, because we have the nature, and it is our role, I believe, to be the helpmeet and to be the support of the man. We're generally going to submit to whatever politics of the man that we're with. We're generally going to submit to it. So this is why I don't think it is the same when Black women marry out versus when white men marry out. When you want to talk about community building, it's, in my opinion, it's different, because the nature of the woman is to submit to the man as far as their politics, as far as vision. Nobody is taking, Black men as a collective are not taking a reformed swirler seriously when it comes to anything pro-Black. Not that they're going to wish harm on you, but you're not going to have the leverage, and you're not going to have the respect to go back and then now think that you can come back into the Black community and hold these men accountable when they're just like, why couldn't you stay together with your white man? Why are you over here worried about us? Why don't you go integrate into the white community you just chose? That's what they're thinking in their brain. So it's like hopefully women will understand that. And also, it is not the fault of the men and the class below you that you don't have relationship success. If you're a white-collar woman who wants white-collar men, it is not the fault of blue-collar men that you can't find somebody on your level.
That's right, sis. Let me tell you something, man.
You can be self-reflective and be like, okay, what's going on? And that's what I hope to inspire some self-reflection, right? And then, as I mentioned, if you do want to date hypergamously, it's just going to be harder. Not to say you can't find the guy, you absolutely can. It's just going to be harder. Now, the good news is, if you are marriageable, because in my opinion, there's such an attack against marriages, and there's such an attack against being a woman who wants to be married. Like, the fact that terms like pygmy are pejoratives, the fact that terms like being male identified, like that's a bad thing. I'm like, of course I want to be male identified. I'm married. I want to be able to identify with the man I'm married to. So it's like the fact that these terms to me that actually connote some form of connection and understanding of the opposite sex are seen as insults and pejoratives to me are kind of crazy. But that just to me speaks because of some of the delusion that's going on. So if it's like I said, if you are a white collar woman, but you are marriageable, or you still exude the qualities or make it a point to become that and to take care of yourself, right? Then you have an upper hand, because a lot of these women don't. A lot of these women, they get their college degrees and think that makes them a wife. They get a piece of paper, they go to whatever college, Ivy League school, whatever, and think that makes them marriageable. And it's like, no.
I think I'm fucking gorgeous. I think I'm perfect.
You go to college and learn how to be a good worker, how to work well for a boss, right? Be under a manager. You go to college to learn how to work. You don't go to college and learn how to be a wife. That's something that you have to learn elsewhere, right? And then lastly, like I said, reformed swirlers, no black man is ever taken seriously. Once you have passed that point, many of them will see you as no longer a factor in black conversations. Not to say that they wish you any harm, not to say that you don't have any value as a human being, but they're just not looking at you as you're part of the community, you're part of whatever discussions is going on here. They're not looking at you for really anything. So you at that point have no clout, really, and no authority to come back and to try to hold them accountable for anything. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to take you seriously. And yes, there is a double standard. As I mentioned before, men have historically slept with women of different races like forever, right? And while still building their empire. And because men are expected to build, to a certain extent, they kind of set the rule. I hate to say it, but it's like they're expected to build. So they kind of set the rules for some of these different things. And men and women are looking for different things, right? In relationships, they are.